Quite often when I'm in thought about my videos, I'm thinking about the content in Halo Infinite. What does it look like? How would I personally change it? And what new things would I like to see? As well as what things should come back, and so on and so forth. But recently I've seen some comments from my audience saying that Halo Infinite needs to launch with this, or it needs to launch with that. And at this point, I think I always took it for granted how much content Halo games had from launch. There's almost so much you don't know what to do with, but not too much that you're also overwhelmed at the same time. So as we sit through this video, I'd like you just to bear in mind that sometimes less is more, too much is confusing, and having all of your eggs in one basket doesn't mean you're necessarily eating them all. I know that sounds absolutely stupid. Now let's sit back, relax, and talk about Halo Infinite, more specifically, the launch of Halo Infinite.
Ultimate Halo.
Hey up lads, Fletch here from Ultimate Halo. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I'm currently trying to reach 80,000 subscribers because that's like a huge thing for me. So if you could all consider subscribing and liking the video, I'd be indebted to every single one of you. And also for anyone who is watching this video, I'm also curious to know what's your experience when it comes to launches of Halo games. So let me know in the comments down below. I really want to know your guys' stories, so let's share them. You know, normally in these videos I do a bit of a history lesson about each game, what they brought to the table, blah blah blah, but today I'm just going to cut straight to the chase, do some brief history, give a little bit of context about what I'm talking about in terms of the potential impacts for Halo Infinite, especially with it likely having a games as a service approach, and don't freak out, I'll explain a bit more about that business model in a future video too. Halo 5.
Halo 5 Guardian.
Yeah, that game. This game was a pretty hard pill to swallow for me. Here I am, ready for a new Halo game after the Master Chief Collection having a pretty poor launch, ready for that ship to fly off into the distance, all aboard the hype train of hashtag Halo is back baby, and then boom. To be not too great of a Halo campaign, multiplayer that was bare bones at the start, theatre that was pretty broken and still no theatre campaign, as well as no Forge at launch. Don't get me wrong, I think this game did have a level of redemption, and I do actually respect 343 for a lot of the things they did in terms of post-launch support, but I think most of us are likely to agree there were certain features that there should have been there at launch. I can accept that Forge was absent, because this was the best version of Forge we've had in any Halo game and it really stepped the bar up, and the creativity and the support it continued to get was absolutely incredible, but ideally you need to be getting a feature like this out at launch. Post-launch free maps and game types, like bring it on, absolutely. Although with that said, Infection not being present as well as Oddball really still to this day confuses the hell out of me. I've never quite understood that decision. But here's the problem with a Halo game in 2020, the community is so diverse you can't give everyone what they want because you need to make sure that players are not too dispersed throughout the community. Look at the Master Chief Collection as a near perfect example. Even though it is a fantastic package now, you can't reasonably have everyone on the same game that they want to play online. By doing this, you're spreading players out way too thin, and sometimes you need to focus players into certain things or playlists or game types that you can quickly find games with other players and not having to wait such a long time, because it really does not look good on your game unless it's like 6 years old, which is completely understandable. So what content exactly should Halo Infinite launch with? That's the big question, but we all also need to ask, what can it also leave out without pissing off the most amount of people? Some of you may be sat there thinking like I'm joking, but I'm actually being dead serious. I talked about it at the start of the video, you don't want too much at the start to overwhelm the player, and if you have a focused core experience and you can expand it over time, that's ideal because you're giving your players reason to come back, which is crucially important in modern video game markets with how competitive it is and how many people are actually developing games. But at the same time, you don't want too little because you get the guys who are like, dude, where's Forge? Dude, where's Infection? Dude, where's my car? It's over there, mate.
Oh yeah, bro, these are sweat.
Okay, sorry, I kind of got lost in the cutaway, but yes. So you need to satisfy all the core fans' needs and build upon them. As such, I really think that Halo Infinite absolutely needs to launch with the following content. Campaign. obviously, but we already knew that, so that's kind of redundant. Theatre, and just for my sanity, please put theatre for the campaign. It's such a crucial feature for so many people, and it's been absent for so long. Obviously multiplayer, it needs its main suite of game types such as Oddball, CTF, King of the Hill, Slayer, Infection, etc. The staple modes needs to be included, it's a must. Forge needs to be within the game 100% at launch this time. I'll admit, it did have a great life cycle because of custom maps, and they were huge within Halo 5. Personally, those features are absolutely key, but I appreciate some of you may feel otherwise and feel like might be some things missing off that list, but please let me know in the comments down below so I can see your perspective. Now, in terms of what I would be happy to wait for, a file browser. Let's be real, there won't be too many great maps at first because people will be getting used to the controls and mechanics of the new Forge mode, so implementing that later down the line won't be too harmful as long as it's not too late to the party. The next thing is a big game type such as Warzone, or whatever the equivalent is going to be in Halo Infinite. The reason for this is because it will get fans hyped that there's this big, new, bold, and hell, it could even be like free to play like COD Warzone, but it's a new actual game type. It would definitely reinvigorate fans' interest in the game, and even though I'm not necessarily a COD fan, COD Warzone and having that done as free to play actually like boosted the numbers significantly, and there are lots of people now playing because it's got this big new game mode. Next up, stuff like Spartan companies. I'm pretty sure this was the case for Halo 5 too, and that it came post-launch, but I think it's a great idea, but the actual implementation needs to go into the game. That would be so much better, really unify the experience so you don't have to go all the way to Halo Waypoint just to party up and sort of manage your Spartan company. I think if that can be expanded upon in Halo Infinite, that would be a great thing, but not necessarily a necessity for the start of the game. So has anyone noticed the themes for my suggestions that can be delayed? Well, they're all quality of life improvements or enhancements. I don't think that Halo necessarily needs these features as such. They're more of a nice bonus, and nobody comes just for them as such, with maybe the exception of Warzone, but I kind of feel that's a bit of a stretch anyway. Even though I have my issues with how Halo 5 launched, seeing the trailers each month full to the brim with new content got me absolutely pumped to jump back in with my buddies, go crazy playing around with all of the new stuff, and renew my interest in the game to really mix things up. And in an ideal world, we all think that a good game is something that gives us our cake right at the start, but actually if you spread those slices out only here and there, maybe save some for another time, you actually appreciate what you do have a little bit more. If I jumped straight into Halo Infinite right now and have all the content I have, I'd spend forever trying to get to grips with the game, and I might not necessarily know the ins and outs very well until a good long time. Especially for the new players, it can be quite intimidating getting into a game that has so much content, and you simply do not have a clue at that point what to do with yourself. That's also why I think the older Halo games were so successful. It's easy to pick up and quickly learn. It was about that 30 seconds of fun, but if you shout at them and say, do this, look at that, go there, they're going to get really frustrated. Then they might not know how to potentially manage the game and quite possibly be put off when they can easily put down the controller and go play another game they like Fortnite or something. I don't know, whatever. Then in terms of having too little content, I think we're all pretty aware of what harm that can do. Halo has a pretty diverse community. You have the forgers, the lore enthusiasts, custom games players, sweaty ranked boys, the casual multiplayer lads and lasses, the machina makers, etc. There's a lot more than that, but because we're all passionate of Halo, if our sub-community doesn't get fed, then it will irritate these people, it will frustrate them, and potentially do a lot of more damage than you think to the video game. So as we can all see, it's a very fine line. You don't want to burn out during development of the game to reach launch day, but I also appreciate there needs to be a level of pressure to keep people working hard rather than, screw it, we'll sort that out later, or we'll fix it later. 343 absolutely need to get this right for Halo Infinite. That's an absolute certainty, but my suggestion is that if you don't get what you want right away, there might be a very good reason for it, and actually you might end up benefiting more if you were waiting rather than them pushing it out on day one for launch. I kind of think that would have been the case for Master Chief Collection as a whole, and Forge as well, because that was utterly fantastic. So be patient, my Halo friends, the great journey waits for no one. What do you think? Let me know your favourite Halo launch in the comments down below. What would you like to see as part of the launch for Halo Infinite? Once again, my name is Jack Fletcher. Thank you so much for tuning in. A subscription would mean the world, and I will see you next time on the one and the only Ultimate Halo.
Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.